We didn't have the budget to fly across the Atlantic Ocean to look back on one of the pivotal moments in Orlando City history, so we just came to Fiddler's Green in Winter Park. Phil Rollins, Adrian Heath, take me back. A little more than 8 years ago, Christmas time, you two come together for something, a moment that will live in Orlando City lore. How did that come about, and how did it go down in that pub in Stoke?
Mutual friend.
Yeah,
really.
It was a mutual friend. Yeah, it was. I was visiting for the Christmas holidays, and we had a mutual friend who knew about the idea that we were thinking about putting together a professional soccer team, and Christmas time, but Christmas Eve, right? There was a group of mutual friends who always got together at actually one of your locals, one of your local haunts.
Blakey's Wine Bar, still going strong. Yeah.
And you knew that this was going on, and you just showed up, or how did that go?
Well,
down?
Gary, a good friend of ours, Gary Maller, who's been friends of us for ages, from me from school and from Phil for an awful long time. Obviously, he'd caught whiff of what Phil was trying to do and get together. And Gary was just getting into the agency business and one or two things.
Yep.
And I just mentioned it because I was out of work then. I'd got fired by Coventry, I think.
Yes, you'd left Coventry.
And left sounds better than fired. I'd
well,
left.
I don't think you had been fired. Hadn't you been promised the job, and then they'd reneged on it?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really fired, was it?
But I'd left my position.
It's kind of subtly different.
Yeah. So, and
you were between employment.
Yeah,
shall we say.
that's the best way of describing it. Yeah. And I'd spoke to Gary about coming to America. We'd been out to the States that previous summer with Coventry and been to Portland. And as we know, their fan base there, I was amazed. Because we'd been there a few years earlier and it was nowhere near what it was. And so in my head, the wheels start sort of going in motion, and I'm thinking, this might be a place that's really going to take off this time. And obviously, as Phil will tell you, I read everything about football all over the world, and I could see what was happening behind the scenes, and looking at the clubs, we're getting bigger crowds, more and more, soccer-specific stadiums, as they call them, were going up. And so I'd mentioned it to Gary that if Phil was looking for somebody, maybe that'd be something I'd be interested in. And that was pretty much how it started.
Yeah, it was, and then it was, it was Christmas Eve, and a group of combined friends always gathered in Blakey's every Christmas Eve. Still do it, they still do it today. So there's probably about 30, 40 people, Adrian, in the pub, and friends, families, children. It's kind of just a kind of social coming together just before Christmas. And I was there having a beer, and the next thing I know, I'm kind of pinned to a wall in a corner by this guy.
I've got the quiz book out
there. I want the job.
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do with this club? And the one thing that was quite apparent from the beginning, it was in its infancy.
It was. My first question was, how do you know? Because at the time, no one really knew. And then, obviously, I quickly figured out it was a mutual friend who'd said something. And Adrian was, to be fair, was very persistent, shall we say?
Yeah,
he was very clearly focused on,
Was there maybe a handshake that night, or did it kind of fester its way throughout the
No,
next...
I think if anything, I was probably a little more, should we say, hard to catch, because to be honest, the planning was really in its infancy. We were literally putting the original business plan together, and I just felt like Adrian was too qualified, and quite honestly, that we couldn't afford a top manager from a top league in Western Europe to be able to come over, because at the time our plans were to launch a minor league team. So you knew what the budget was, and I didn't think we'd be able to afford Adrian. So I was a little bit standoffish,
He's still using that line. We haven't got enough money. I'm still hearing it now.
You hear that though? Why did you say yes?
Well, a lot of things. So we sort of left it that you'd get back to me when you had a little bit more news on it.
That's right. Yeah.
And obviously by then I'm really getting involved and trying to find out as much as I can.
Yeah.
And although I knew that this was going to be USL, for me, if that was going to be a stepping stone, maybe even to go on to Major League Soccer or something, because I felt like I needed a change from what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And not only did I believe in what was going to happen in the States, more importantly, once we'd sat down, and hey, it wasn't its infancy, but the thought of growing something completely from nothing, and there was literally nothing. We had no colours then, we had no training ground, we had no players, anything.
We were just doing the business planning, literally.
So
because the original plan was not to start until 2009. So if you remember, we were well over a year away from having to think about kicking a ball in anger. So I think I asked our mutual friend, if he'd go around and sit down with Adrian Jane and just make sure he was serious, because I was like, does he really want to come? Because the thought of us getting a small minor league team, getting a top-time coach, a UEFA Pro licensed coach from England to be your head coach, that was pretty far-fetched even then, right?
Oh yeah, and I think, I think for me it was a little bit of a leap of faith, but I certainly believed in him. But more importantly, I believed in what the game was going to become here, and I wanted to be in early. I want to be in its infancy and sort of grow with the game if possible.
And you were that. You were in its infancy.
8 years later, you guys are on the doorstep of year 2 in Major League Soccer. Do you have to pinch yourself when you see from that night in Blakey's to where it's at right now?
I think if we'd have said we were going to be where we are now, I think that might have been a bit far-fetched. But I know that mutually along the way, 3 or 4 years in, we thought, this is taking off here. This could actually be really big time. Yeah. And hence the decision to leave where we were in Austin to come here, which, as I always say, it was a huge decision. And it was a decision I'm glad he had to make and not me, because we left a lot of good people behind in Austin. Yep. And it wasn't easy for Phil to be the bad guy, ultimately take the team away, but it proved to be, the pivotal decision and everything we've done really.
Phil, to have Adrian, to have one coach with you throughout the entire process, how nice has that been for you?
It's been fantastic. It's been, I don't think many clubs have that. You don't have that consistency, you don't have that. And, even when we first sat down, when we first talked about a contract, I said to Adrian, look, let's do 3 years, right? Because it's going to take 2 to 3 years for you to establish yourself, your pattern of play, the players. I'm a big believer in consistency, and in any role like this, you need consistency of approach, you need consistency of philosophy, and tactical decisions and player decisions. And there's so many clubs, to my mind today, are so quick to change leadership when there's really no need to. It's tweaking small things within the organization, not changing the whole organization. So it's been great for us to have that consistency. The style of play I would say it's the same, but because it's migrated a little bit, but it's pretty much what we set out right back in the interview. I asked him how he wanted to play and the style he wanted to play, the way he wanted to play, and that was.
I think I mentioned Arsenal in them days there.
I said, which team? If you remember, I said, which team would you say you wanted to most play like? And he said, I'd have to say it was Arsenal. I said, well, if you can build a team that plays like Arsenal, that'll do for me. So.
Still trying.
There was one
Arsenal
fairly...
reserves, maybe.
Hey, that's still not bad.
No, I'm joking. No, the style of play was important.
There was one fairly well-publicized almost move by you to Toronto. Yeah. How close was that to happening, and how big of a move was it for you to stay?
Well, it was close to happening. I went up there and spent a few days with them, and obviously anybody who's been up there, it's a great city, but more importantly, MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports Enterprise is an incredible organisation. But after being up there a couple of days and coming back, sitting down with Phil again, and we were so close. Yeah, it was one of them things that I'm thinking, I've worked all this time, we're that close now, why am I going to move on? So it was a difficult decision, but the fact that I'd been here from the very beginning obviously was always going to far outweigh the fact that that was a really good offer for me, and it turned out to be a great decision. And at the time, you're not sure about all that, but everything that's consequently happened since has made that decision very more than justified.
Phil, when that happened, what was going through your head?
Well, it's funny because Adrian will probably remember this. When we very first sat down and talked about the job, I said to him, look, if we're going to be a minor league team to begin with, if a major league team comes in for you, I won't stand in your way, because you deserve the chance to go on and pursue your career. I think everybody does. Player, manager, you've got to fulfill your dreams. But I didn't expect it to happen. Especially at that point, I think we'd gone through such a lot. When Toronto came in, it was a bit of a shock. So really, there was two things. One is, in the background, you're really planning. Well, you've got to plan as a business person. Well, what if Adrian goes? What do I do? What's the backup plan? What's plan B? Where are we going to go? What do we do? And then the other thing you're doing as well is, of course, you're trying to keep him. So you kind of, you get a little bit schizophrenic. You're kind of like trying to do both simultaneously. But I remember saying to him, as much as I appreciated that Toronto was a big move and a move to a big MLS club at that time, I said to him, you only ever have one chance. You only ever have one chance to go from beginning to end with one club, and this is that chance. And if you leave, there's not going to be a second chance to have a situation like this and an opportunity like this, and just glad he stayed.
Let's talk about year one in Major League Soccer. You guys put the expectations out there of playoffs so close. How disappointing was that for you? Because it seems as though since you've been here, you've reached every goal you've put out there, and this is the first well-publicized one that you weren't able to reach.
Phil knows more than most. I was hugely disappointed, wasn't I?
We all were.
I was really upset that we hadn't made it, because if I'm being honest deep down, we had the team capable of doing it. Yeah. There were mitigating circumstances along the way. Our injury situation was something that obviously you can never cope for. Suspensions, red cards, too many of them. And all that at times caught up with us. But when I look at it in the cold light today and look at the players that we had, it was achievable. So that for me has been the biggest disappointment since I've been in the States, because I knew the team that we had last year, given the fair crack and everybody being fit more than they were, was more than capable of being a playoff team.
What was the lesson maybe you learned through 1 year in Major League Soccer?
Wow. I think there's a number of lessons you learn. It's not just a singular thing, Chris. It's the lessons you learn. You learn preparation's important. Travel is a huge part of the day-to-day life of a soccer club in MLS. The time changes, the time difference, the altitude changes, the weather changes. I mean, you're just dealing with a lot of flux in a regular season, and then being able to have to bring together 27 players, and kind of like inside a month really you go, okay, now be a team, right?
Go and play, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, and that was
bigger than we probably thought.
I think so, definitely. And I think for that reason this year will be so much better. That 1 year of experience is going to count for a lot, because the guys know where they're going, they know they're playing, they know the facilities, they know the conditions, and they've got that year of experience, and they know they can win. They come off the back of that 6-7 game winning streak at the end of last season. They know they can win, and they know they can beat anybody in this league on the day.
That was my next question to you, Coach. Building a team from scratch, you kind of did it in the USL, but at this level, it's completely different.
Well, yeah, because obviously the consequences of defeats are so much more amplified. And I think the other thing was, Phil, we touched about it on the way that we play.
Yeah.
Suddenly we've got 27 players to try and get into the way that we play, which is not unique, but it's different than most teams. And trying to get Christian Higuita and Darwin on the same page, and then trying to integrate a winger into our system like Carlos Rivas that we've never had. So all the players, it's like the old jigsaw puzzle, and they've got to work out how it fits.
Also with Kaká as well, people integrating him into a system, but then people just want. You can see in the fish, they only wanted to play with Kaká. It's like no, yeah, Kevin, yeah,
Kevin Molino.
It's like, guys, we got 9 other players we have to pass to.
Yeah, and it was so that was a problem. On the positive side, I was looking at it the other day. Supporter Shield winners with the Red Bulls. We played them away, beat them 5-2. And by the way, we're the better team here when we lost 2-0. And we played with 10 men for so long. The winners of overall competition were the Timbers. We beat them away 2-0. The other finalists was Columbus Crew. We beat them twice this year. So it's not like we couldn't compete with the best that the league had to offer. So a few things that we have to change, but we're on the right way.
So those are some of the difficult aspects of year one, but what was some of the more enjoyable aspects of that first year in Major League Soccer?
The crowd, the fans, the community, the fans were unbelievable, absolutely. Week in, week out, you go down there, the amount of people in the stadium, the noise they made, the way they got behind the team, week in and week out, that for me was just like, I just used to love going to the games to just hear the fans and feel that passion and feel that enthusiasm and excitement. And
it was how much the team meant to the community. that for me was incredible.
Huge.
You know, and I've noticed the difference just walking around the city since I've been here. But to suddenly see the players as celebrities was pretty cool to see how far we've come.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it will always be the opening day. Nothing will ever top that. And we've had some great days along the way, some great games. But the opening day, seeing the bowl full, when I thought he's gone too far this time, right? You know, that hashtag fill the bowl. I thought, all right, that's a good one. I'm not sure that one's going to last, but there again, and it was, I wanted the players to go to the stadium together on the opening day, so we took the coach from the old offices downtown.
A Lynx bus, right?
Yeah, and the coach going up past the Amway, and going up
Church
Street was something I'll never forget. And I'm like, my God, there's more than 62,000 because there was lots of people outside who couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So that for me will always be the overriding memory of what we've done so far. What we have to try and do is get better days than that.
Where does that rank? You played hundreds of games in Europe. I remember I still get goosebumps. You walk out and that you do that. Where does that rank maybe in your moments of playing and now coaching?
Well, it's strange because when we started, like when I was a young player as a player, I was always big-headed enough to think I'm going to play at the highest level and I'm going to be. This was something that I'm thinking, we're going to go from a team from here to here, playing in the Citrus Bowl, 62,000 people. So to have that day and then see how far we'd come and how much hard work had gone into it, how much emotion that we'd sort of gone along to get to where we were was a really special day. And I was pleased that we got a result at the end that we deserved, because I didn't want it to end in a downer that we got beat 1-0. And I just wanted everybody who'd worked so hard, like to fail, and all the people in the front office, some of them who've been with us for a long, long time, to have that special day, and that was what it was. It turned out to be a special day for all of us.
Without a doubt. Phil, going into year 2, you make a couple of tweaks. You kind of mentioned those. Why did you have to make those going into this season?
Well, I mean, first of all, we kind of answered the question with the answer earlier. When you bring 27 players together, a lot of them which came from the expansion draft, we knew that inevitably there would be a fall out of that, and people that didn't make it, we've got a very high standard for players, both on and off the field, and some players were not going to reach that level, and we knew we had to say goodbye to them and bring in some replacements. So there was always inevitably going to be a turnover after the first year. The good news is it's not 27. You're talking 5 or 6 here or there, the guys who weren't good enough to make the squad. So we've done that. They're always tough decisions. Whenever you let a player go and cut a player, it's a tough decision. But you always try and make the right decision for the franchise going forward. You're always trying to look to the future. And you've got to put those building blocks in place.
They're not
That's what we've done.
Decisions, are they?
Not at all.
I've said to you a few times.
Not at all.
Like I get paid at times to make the right decisions, not the popular ones. Yeah. And sometimes they're not popular. I think about a year or so ago when it was Miguel Gallardo and Rob Valentino. By the way, that day for us was probably one of the worst days we've ever had together. To let people go who've contributed so much to get us where we were, But you have to make them. And you just hope that you don't make too many wrong ones.
They're honored with the banners and everything, and Miguel and Rob, and now Rob's back with you with OCB. So that's
and your Downing's with us, and
exactly.
So it's good.
Adrian, you've alluded to this throughout the first couple weeks of training. How far along are you going into year 2 versus year 1?
No, I don't think I could actually quantify it in terms of on and off the field. Nothing's going to take us by surprise this year. And going back to some of the stuff that Phil was saying, travel, when to travel, what to do when you get there, certain times going even a day earlier than normal, all little things like that. But off the field, on the field, it's been incredibly, I'm not going to say easy, but it's been such the process of getting everybody integrated is certainly nowhere near as it was last year. The players have come in, and I look at our younger sort of South American guys like Roches and Rivas and Christian and people like that. They're the ones it's been so much easier for, So we expect a lot more out of them, and in terms of training, we're probably 2 or 3 weeks, I think, further on than we were this time last year. So we've saved ourselves 2 weeks somewhere along the line. Now we're getting down to tactical work, not physical work. Because everybody's comfortable.
You guys haven't been shy about expectations, heaping them on a team.
Right.
What are they for year 2, Phil?
To me, and we've answered this question a few times now, they're the same as they were in year one. The challenge and the goal has to be to make the playoffs. We said it last year. I think a lot of people thought that it was marketing hype or something. It really wasn't. We had absolute faith and expectation that we could make that goal and we could make it happen, and we were disappointed not to.
Yeah.
So the goal has to be the same. It's make the playoffs, because as Portland proved, once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. You can win a championship. So then that's our ultimate goal, but step one has to be playoffs.
You look at the roster, Adrian, you kind of have it seems figured out from us looking from the outside in. Maybe you add a couple more pieces, but for you, are you comfortable with where the roster is at right now?
Yeah, we've got hopefully a couple of bits more business to do before we start, and if we do that, I'll be more than comfortable. I just think that even with the group we had, if we hadn't added any pieces, we would be in a better shape than we were last year.
Getting Kevin back is like getting a new piece.
Player, yeah.
Really. I mean, it's like getting a new player.
And he's looking great in training, so we're all excited and looking forward to it again.
Outside the MLS, Phil, you had Orlando City B that I know Coach is happy about, but the Pride as well.
Yeah.
Kay has told us, and you have told us, that was something that you wrote down when you brought the MLS or tried to bring an MLS franchise here. Those were also other goals that you wanted to achieve, and now you have.
Yeah, always, Christian. And we never made any, never hid behind the fact that we wanted to bring a women's team here. We wanted to bring a women's pro team when the time was right. And circumstances, dictated the time was right at the end of last year. We had a great opportunity. Alex Morgan, a part of that opportunity, the chance to get a world-class top superstar of the game, to be your figurehead of the team and leader of the team. That was a piece of it too. So we're delighted to have them. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really exciting for people in this community, particularly young women and girls in this community, to have that leadership and to have those role models playing here every week, week in, week out. Tom Simone's got a great team. He's got 8 internationals already.
He's got to win the league then.
Well,
just put that out there for Tom Simone.
He knows it. We've talked to him about that.
Defy expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on you, Tom.
But it's a great team. It's going to be very exciting for the city to see top class women's soccer played in Orlando.
OCB,
Yeah.
how valuable?
Oh, huge for us. We think we've got some really good young players, and the bottom line is last year they hardly played. This year they've got somewhere to play. They've got a good coach. Anthony Pulis is going to do a great job with him. I've been really impressed with what he's done so far. And he's going into the USL League with a little bit different, the expectations on him are to help our players get better, to be available for us. Whereas ours, we had to try and win to promote the game here and to build the club. But Anthony, I know in him, he'll want to be successful and do everything that we've done. But the most important thing is the pressure's not on him that much. The pressure's on us to develop players to play in the first team, and he's going to be excellent at that.
Final question, Kaká in year 2. What can we expect to see from him?
I think I'll be better than last year, just because I think he's more comfortable now within the group. Players, going back to what Phil said, the players don't think they have to pass to him every time they get the ball. And I think the fact that he's more comfortable in his surroundings as well. And the expectation and the glare is probably off him a little bit now compared with what it was last year. Yeah. Now, we think Ricky's going to have a great season for us, and I know that the rest of the group are really looking forward to the season.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Okay.